Hey, it's okay though. He's got a great lawyer. He's got Alina Habba. Come on now, right? There she is. Look at that. You are the sunshine of my life. Trump verdict. Nothing to worry about for New York businesses. Hochul. This is everybody's leaving. Nobody wants to be there anymore, except Fox News.
Westchester in the Hudson Valley, even his iconic $348 million Trump Tower, which by
look at her fucking face melt. Wait, but let's watch how this video starts. She's like, he's losing this and this and this and this and this.
The Post writing that he's got properties in Manhattan, Westchester, in the Hudson Valley, even his iconic $348 million Trump Tower, which, by the way, I think that's undervaluing Trump Tower, could be on the chopping block.
Yeah. It's good you bring that up. Barbara says, "How any ideas where Trump gets funding?" Yeah, he's been selling properties.
Do you see that happening over the next 25 days?
No. No.
So he'll just write a check, Alina?
I'm not going to get into privileged information, but there will be a bond and there will be no issues with that. So that's all I'll say on that.
Okay.
So somebody else is going to carry his bond because he's going to show up, and if he has to pay it, he has to pay it himself, but he can find somebody else who will bond it on some percentage of it.
What are your grounds on appeal here?
Mean Jew with his weird lady clerk and black lady. That's our big three. That's the three.
What aren't my grounds on appeal is a...
Yeah, totally. I mean, at this point, why just tell them? You know what I mean? Just like, I got this appeal and I got this appeal, and they can just suck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? I mean, what did I go to law school for? Did I go to law? I did go to. What was I doing? I was going to law school. Right. Anyways, never mind.
Better question. Where do you begin? I mean,
start with. Hey, here's a good idea. Fucking one.
We could start with all the things we talked about, Rob, over the past 6 months.
Yeah, they didn't work. All the things you talked about over the last 6 months got you a guilty plea, fuckhead.
These cases, in this case in particular, we saw a completely bipartisan situation become absolutely toxic and un-American.
And that's what it was. I'm going to go on judicial toxicity.
Gag orders placed on attorneys where we couldn't put things on.
I'm appealing your verdict because your verdict is toxic. Does that work? That he didn't. What do you mean I didn't file it in time?
On the record, I still have that gag order in place. So does the president. The judge here ignored the statute of limitations limitation that was put in place by the appellate division that reversed.
He ignored the limitation of the limitation?
Terrible. Him.
What a dick.
There are.
You mean the part where he was guilty, but you think you ran out the clock? Hey, Dum-Dum, real quick. There's a special circumstance in that while he was president, there was a belief that he could not be indicted or could not be charged with any of this stuff or could not be sued by the state during the time he was president. So the statute of limitations that applies to everybody else, none of us get a period of no-go where it's pulled like a gap out of that time where we're like, oh, I was in the White House, can't fucking, as long as I'm here, you can't do shit. And the statute of limitations runs out in 3 years. Even though I'm guilty, you can't do it. It was just what he was counting on.
This is everyone who said there was nothing done wrong, including Deutsche Bank, including Zurich, who still works with the Trump organization.
Deutsche doesn't? That's weird. Why didn't you bring that up?
Listen, while I understand it was the intent of the Democrat-funded AG to try and put Trump out of business, it's just not going to happen. And
it did happen. It happened. It's happening right now. He literally, during the appeal process, can't run his business. He's got to have this arbitration person always around, like fucking legal training wheels.
And that's probably devastating to her. And, that's unfortunate.
No, I don't think she didn't seem devastated. I saw her. She didn't seem. Chat room, Did Letitia James seem devastated after the $355 million thing? No, did she? I'm fairly certain. Yeah. Yeah. No, there was nothing about it that I thought was devastating. She didn't look devastated. Yeah, at all. She didn't even look miffed. Weird.
But even with this ridiculous verdict, which frankly, in my opinion, makes the intent and the political motivation very loud and clear here, we will win on appeal. And
yeah, everybody loses the first time, Alina. You know, that's what love is like.
Things will be reversed because there were items that should never have even come into this trial. As you know, we lost on summary judgment before we even walked into the court. And
well, yeah, because it was on paper. It wasn't like you could argue emotionally. Like the apartment isn't 30,000 square feet. That's a summary judgment thing. You can't scream it into existence. You can't yell until it is. Thanks, Sarah.
It was a damages trial, much like the Carroll case. And
right, because there was no question that he did it.
It's insane, but the insanity makes it easy to appeal.
It is. That's the thing, is that it's just crazy. Guys, the whole insanity. It's all insanity. This insane, and it's insane nonsense. It's nonsense, guys. Guys, it's nonsense. It's nonsense.
It doesn't make it right, but as a person involved, I can tell you that the appellate record will be hefty.
Alina.
Hefty? Really? You mean it'll be in a hefty bag because it's garbage?
On Friday night after the ruling, when emotions were running high, understand.
Yeah, when you were mad and yelling, you didn't seem like you were excited to possibly win.
Understandably, you said, quote, "I think the biggest message I can give the American people tonight is that he's not going to get away with it. Letitia James is not going to get away with this. The Biden administration is not going to get away with it."
They kind of, well, and it turns out it was your boss that didn't get away with it. That's the thing. Your boss was the one trying to get away with it.
What would you say to Letitia James if you ran into her on the street?
Before or after she snatches her wig? What are you talking about? What would you say to her on the street? Nothing.
And you weren't a lawyer in this case.
I wasn't a lawyer in this case. I was a normal person.
Yep. You're just Alina Habba.
I can't say that on national television.
Because if I said it, you'd realize I would just go, I don't give a shit. I don't represent that guy. Who gives a fuck? He's nasty. I met him at a party, tried to grab me by the pussy. This guy's, no, fuck Trump. If I wasn't his attorney, I'd go, you go, girl, I think is what that she'd probably say.
I would honestly, at this point, you know, she's in so deep. Her press conference says it all. I would tell her what to show me that no one is above the law and start applying the law to her own. That's what I would.
To her own? What do you mean? Like she like to throw her kids in jail, or?
Would say, because it's very clear her animus, her chip on her shoulder, her political motivation is ruining our country, much like a lot of DAs and AGs. And I would tell her, why don't you have some dignity for your role as the Attorney General in New York and start taking.
And she'd go, ma'am, what's your actual reasoning behind your critique in this situation? I mean, do you work for Mr. Trump? You don't. All right. Well, have you read any of the evidence in this? Because you're not a lawyer in this case, so you haven't had access to this. So you could kind of assume that we know what we're talking about. And if you have read it, you'd know what he was guilty of, clearly. I mean, if you don't represent him, you don't have to argue on his behalf. So
taking care of your state,
Alina,
instead of targeting political people.
Political people.
Since you hooked on with the former president.
Hooked on? Is that a squirrely way of saying hooked up? Ugh.
And started representing him. Your career has skyrocketed.
Yeah, you've gone from ambulance chaser to losing real money.
I think Alina Habba is now, it's a household name, really.
It is. It is literally, yeah. Your name is used in such common usage in most houses that it's kind of like whatever the town you're in, the restaurant with the D food listing that everybody jokes about never going to, or when you're driving, like, we're heading to Bangles, and you're like, that joke or whatever. She's the lawyer equivalent of that. So, yeah.
But you're young in your career. How concerned are you
that your life is over, that after all this loss, no one will ever hire you again, and you'll be stuck on OnlyFans?
About what this could mean for your reputation down the road?
As a loser. I mean, that's what he means, as a loser.
In
They're losers.
terms of what? I think.
Well, there are a lot of attorneys out there that no longer want to represent the former president, right or wrong. I'm not casting judgment, right or wrong, because of the implications it has for their careers. And
yeah, but you're going to stick with them, aren't you? Stand by your man.
You've got a bright future, seemingly.
Give him 300 million in losses and get cross with anyone who questions you.
Yes. I have to tell you the truth. I wouldn't do anything differently. I'm so proud of the work that I've done. And
could you say it if you didn't? I mean, honestly, is that a question you can actually answer?
Any attorney who actually reads transcripts and looks at the rulings that we got before we got into court, evidentiary rulings, things like that, losses that have happened, and we've had wins, many wins, but no.
Yeah, huge wins, giant wins. And by we, I mean Ivanka. But
nobody reports them, but the losses.
Yeah, nobody reports the big wins. Now's your chance, though, right? Come on. Don't even tell us about we know the rest of the shit. Tell us about one of the big wins. Yeah, that should be easy, right? They're huge. How could you miss them? Tell us all about it. Give it a shot. Come on. Like when you with the you got the better we're almost there was a
that have happened are not a result of the facts not being on our side or bad lawyering. They are a result of the fact that he is the leading candidate for the Republican Party.
Also, it's his fault. I see. But yeah, enough about. I know why you lost the money, or whatever. But tell us about the wins. You just said nobody's reporting on them. Whip it out.
Frankly, for president in general. So I can say that, look, trolls will be trolls, Rob, and
yeah, I hear you, sister.
Would never change a thing. I am proud of the work I've done.
Yeah, see, I gotta say, any normal person looks back at anything they do and goes, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff I could fix, but overall, I think we're headed in the right direction. I think that's the reasonable thing. It's like telling somebody you're behind them 100%. First of all, you can't. You need at least 20% just to fucking get oxygen into your lungs and food into your mouth and shit out of your body without it coming out down your pants leg. You need 20% of yourself just to operate your physical person on the earth plane. And then another 20% if you have a relationship and family and that kind of stuff, and another 20% if you have a job and all that kind of. So if you really want to be honest with your friend, you go, hey man, I'm behind you 18%. That's what I got left over, and it's all yours.
And it is truly an honor to work for a former president and
a sitting former president. Yeah, because he doesn't stand a lot, because it's the weird shoes.
Future president again. So
a future president again.
For anybody else that has an issue with that can't see through that, you're just.
Oh, I can see through it. I mean, I can see through it. You don't have to worry about me seeing through it. I think you have to kind of worry about Melania seeing through it, but
you're not looking at the big picture here. We're changing the country and fixing.
Yeah. Stop focusing on the minutia of the, $355 million loss, and look at the big picture. The shoes sold out and were on eBay within 2 hours.
The country, and I'm proud to be part of that mission.
And that mission, of course, that I'm not really getting paid for. Oh boy.